On today's video, we take a look at trade targets. Are they even possible? There's also a big name free agent hitting the market that's a Chiefs fan favorite. Could we sign him? Plus, Netflix announces a new show that will star Patrick Mahomes. We're going to talk about all that and more. Stick around.
What's happening, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to All Chiefed Up. Today we're going to talk about some trade targets. A lot of Chiefs Kingdom talking about Myles Garrett, D-Hop, all these big names. Mike, are these even possible trade targets for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I'm not thinking they are, Steve. Myles Garrett, I took a look at Myles Garrett. He's 27 years old right now. But if they was to trade him, that's going to leave the Cleveland Browns with $35 million in dead cap space. If they traded him after July 1st or June 1st, one of the two, I don't remember, that would maybe ease it a little bit, but they're still not going to do that. It looks like the earliest you could probably get rid of Myles Garrett would be 2 years from now, and he'll also be 29 years old, and you'd still have to give up 2 first-round picks for him. I think that's way too rich.
No one's going to give up 2 first-round picks for a 29-year-old edge rusher. I just don't see that happening. I mean, I know Myles Garrett's like a freak athlete, and he's one of the best in the league, but I just don't see that happening. And I also don't see the Browns taking that much money in dead cap just to trade him. I don't know why they would. I mean, why not keep him? He's a good player, and they already have him in contract.
Yeah, he's going to be a lifer, Cleveland Brown. I don't think there's any possible trades. You could get a team like Vegas or the Chargers or Denver, somebody in our division that likes to stay in the news, may do something stupid like that. But yeah, I don't see it happening. Let's move on to DeAndre Hopkins. That name's been thrown around too. I took a look at him. DeAndre Hopkins right now just served a 6-game suspension for PEDs. He has some ACL issues, and he's getting ready to be 31 years old. He's already saying that whoever makes a trade for him, he wants to restructure a contract, and this is what his asking is. His asking price is 3 years, $70 million. I do not see Brett Veach forking over 3 years, $70 million to a wide receiver with that many problems and at that age.
Once again, it's going to have to be a team that just loves making splashes in the offseason with big news and stuff, because I don't know who would want to pay an aging receiver that much. It's just insane to me. D-Hop's a freak athlete. He's one of a kind. He hates Kyler Murray. He wants out of Arizona. You think he would be a little more flexible on that contract, but the way the wide receiver market went crazy last year, that's just what he expects, and he's not going to get that from Brett Veach.
No, I could maybe see it. Sean Payton and the Broncos throwing money at him. Maybe a team like the Jets, somebody like that, somebody with a lot of money to spend and, not a lot of common sense.
Right. So these are impossible trade targets here. So, Mike, what do you think are some possible trade targets for the Chiefs coming up? I was kind of thinking Montez Sweat from the Washington Commanders or Grant Delpit from Cleveland Browns.
Yep, that's my 2. Cleveland was talking about getting rid of him last year. He could probably be had for somewhere around a 6th-round pick. He did have a better season, but he has underperformed since he's been there. We need safety help. I don't think Juan Thornhill's coming back unless he can't sign long-term. We may throw him out a 1-year deal or something. But as a long-term thing, if we're not looking at the draft, we need somebody to go along with Brian Cook and Justin Reed. And so Grant Delpit would be perfect. He come out in 2020. He was a 2nd-round pick. He's pretty solid, but he hasn't lived up to expectations. He's long. He's rangy. He's a hard hitter. And I know that Brett Veach likes LSU guys. He likes SEC guys in general. So that would not be something I would think the Chiefs would shy away from if they could maybe call up Cleveland and get him for a 6th-round pick. We got a lot of picks to throw around this year.
Yeah, if they're not planning on keeping Thornhill, Delpit would be a good target. I mean, they were both 2nd-round picks. Delpit's 3 years younger than Thornhill, though, and he was a lot more productive than Thornhill last season. Last season, Delpit had 76 solo tackles, 4 interceptions. He had 35 times that he was targeted and allowed 22 receptions. So that's kind of that percentage there is kind of what throws you off from him. But Juan Thornhill, he only had 52 solo tackles, 3 interceptions, and he had the same percentage on that letting up receptions, man, 38 targets and 24 receptions allowed. Overall, PFF had Juan Thornhill graded a little higher than Delpit, but I think with the age factor and the fact that Juan Thornhill already had a huge injury, I think Delpit's probably got the upside here, in my opinion. So that's definitely something the Chiefs should look at if they don't lock up Thornhill.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Grant Delpit's a good target. As you mentioned, Montez Sweat, defensive end out of the Commanders. He is now entering his 5th year. They're probably going to tag him for his 5th year. He's probably going to get to stay on that rookie contract, but they may look to trade him. Why would you trade somebody with a lot of production? Montez Sweat's got a lot of production. He's got a good get off. He can get after the quarterback. He can create pressure. But if you look at the Commanders, Deron Payne's coming up this year. He is a monster defensive tackle that we actually talked about possibly trading for last season to get some help. But they're all saying that he's too good. They don't want to trade him. They want to re-sign him long term. You also have Chase Young on that defensive line. They have him in a big rookie contract, and they're going to have to re-sign him. You can't sign all these guys. They don't have enough money to pay all these guys. If they do, you'll see them continue to struggle. But I feel like the Commanders are getting ready to go more offensive heavy because of the hiring of Bieniemy. I think they're going to look that way. They may have to give up a lot of defensive help. Montez Sweat would be a target I would take a look at. I don't know what you'd have to trade to get him. It'd probably be at least a second round, maybe a third round mixed with a later pick or something like that. But to be honest, with all the picks we got, I would not be surprised to take a look at this one.
Yeah, I would definitely look into Montez Sweat if I were Brett Veach, just for the simple fact that you got Frank Clark. We don't really know what's going on there. He's under contract, but he's going to be a $21 million cap hit. And yeah, we've grown to love Frank Clark because he's kind of changed his tune this year. He's a lot more likable, and he's a monster come postseason. I mean, he's always clutch when it comes to the postseason. He's helped us win 2 Super Bowls. So you hate to see him go, but if he were to go, that leaves you with George Karlaftis, Joshua Kando, and Mike Dana. There's not a whole lot going on there because Carlos Dunlap, he was on a 1-year deal. I don't know if they're going to re-sign him either. So Montez Sweat, somebody to look at. If you go look at his stats from last year, PFF had him rated at 86.4 overall, which is a very high score. 27 solo tackles, 8 assists, and 8 sacks. So a young guy. He was a first-round draft pick. He was picked 26th overall. So like you said, Mike, if you could get him for, a third rounder or maybe even a second rounder, it might be something to look at. Yeah, so off of the trade targets and on to the free agency, there is a fan favorite that's available in free agency right now, and everyone would love to see him come back to Kansas City, Mike. Kareem Hunt. You hear it over and over again. We're probably sick of hearing about Kareem Hunt at this point, but it's come up again because he's a free agent and he very well could come here. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if Kareem Hunt's ever coming back in a Chiefs uniform. It's just not going to happen. I think he burned bridges when he lied to the Hunt family. I think it's done with Kareem Hunt here. That's easy to see. We kind of don't need him. We're going to need some more running back depth because we are going to probably get rid of Ronald Jones. I think that's a given. I think Clyde is in his last few days here. So you're going to need somebody to back up Pacheco. McKinnon's getting a little older, but I do not think it's Kareem Hunt. I was actually looking at Kareem Hunt. He played here with Eric Bieniemy. It's very possible he could find his way in Washington and play with the Commanders on that side of the ball, Steve. What do you think?
Well, we talked about it with Clyde yesterday, and the same goes for Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt was actually in Kansas City when Eric Bieniemy was the running back coach, so they probably had a pretty good relationship. And seeing what Kareem Hunt was able to do with the Browns, it looks like a key piece that they could use over there in Washington, so that wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, I think Kareem Hunt could go in and probably take the starting job out of the rookie. I think he would beat Brian Robinson because of his dual threat. Yeah, either way, that's a good 1-2 punch there in Washington. I would not be surprised to see that.
I mean, as intriguing as Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt 1-2 punch combo seems in Kansas City, I just don't think it's going to happen. Like Mike said, I think he burned bridges. That boat has sailed. Kareem Hunt will not be back in Kansas City. So quit getting your hopes up, Chiefs Kingdom. It's not going to happen, I don't think.
Okay, so moving on to another big name, Taylor Lewan, offensive tackle, has been cut today. He's been released. Steve, do you think Taylor Lewan is somebody that Brett Veach will look to bring in and maybe have some right tackle depth there with Taylor Lewan? Do you think that's something we would do or no?
I think looking at tackle depth is a thing that Brett Veach is going to do. Taylor Lewan, on the other hand, I don't think it's going to be him. Obviously, he spent his entire career in Tennessee. They went ahead and released him today. He has this thing going on with busting with the boys. I don't think he's all that committed to football anymore. I think he's probably going to retire and go to that full time if you had to ask me, or he might go somewhere else and chase a ring. I'm not for sure. So yeah, he definitely could be a hook up here in Kansas City because this is a place now that people want to come to chase a ring. So he'd have to take a very friendly deal because I just don't think Brett Veach is that interested in an aging guy that probably doesn't seem all that interested in football anymore.
Right. He turns 32 in July. He only played 64 snaps last year, but check this one out. He hasn't played a full season slate of games, 17 games, 16 games since 2017. That's not something you need. That just screams Kyle Long all over again.
Yeah, I was going to mention his injury history. He's not been the most fortunate when it comes to injuries either. So, like I said, I just don't see it happening. Is it possible? Yes. Likely? No.
No.
So So Netflix announced today that they're going to be releasing a series called Quarterbacks, and it's going to be featuring Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. Apparently, they followed them all season this year and had them mic'd up every game. So there could be some very interesting content coming out on Netflix, Mike.
I think it's interesting they named it quarterbacks and they followed Mariota and Kirk Cousins.
I think they had to offset Patrick Mahomes. You get the greatest of all time, you have to take some scrubs with him.
I guess so. I don't know if I want to see Mariota. I don't know if I want to see Kirk Cousins. Cousins is kind of a nerd. I don't know if I even want to see that, but Patrick Mahomes will be some good TV. I heard they mic'd him up for every single game, so we're gonna get some good behind the scenes footage. It's gonna be pretty awesome, man. This was a nice Super Bowl run. Every time it seems like Mahomes gets targeted for something, be it this for a Super Bowl run or the Madden cover. He actually won that year, so it seems like every time Mahomes takes the spotlight, he shines.
It's the script, man. The script writers, they have to do what they got to do to make that stuff sell and be successful. But in all seriousness, I like to watch documentary stuff. Docuseries are great. I like to see behind the scenes in football and everything. Like you said, not a big fan of Kirk Cousins or Marcus Mariota, but if it was just those two, I'd probably watch it anyway, just to see how it goes, all the behind the scenes stuff and everything. But having Patrick Mahomes on there, that's just a cherry on top for a Chiefs fan right there, because we get to get more up close and personal with the guy that we all know and love.
Dude, speaking of docu-series on football, can we have HBO get back in Kansas City and put the Chiefs on Hard Knocks this year? That would be incredible. I'd love to see it. The Chiefs actually were on Hard Knocks a few years ago when we used to suck, but I'd like to see it now that Big Red Company's in town and we are a dynasty.
I think it just, it goes against the name, man. It's not a Hard Knock Life in KC anymore, so they don't care about it. They liked us when we sucked.
That's true. They have been following the Cowboys or the Jets or whoever. The Browns.
I don't even know anymore. So like we were saying, lots of trade possibilities for the Kansas City Chiefs if they want to go that route. Scrambling Armchair, they have a podcast on YouTube here. Watch this video here. He's talking about if the Chiefs could trade for DeAndre Hopkins. Check that out. Get in our comments, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that bell. And we will be back next week with more on your Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs, baby.
See you guys. Go Chiefs.